Peace, family. Good morning.
Yes, yes.
Brother
Another
Barry,
episode.
welcome back to Sack of Tomatoes.
Yes. Another episode, right?
In the building,
Yes, just being honest, connecting with our black experience. We here again. Thank you for all the folks that have been tuning in, tapping in.
Right on.
We apologize for our little lateness. We're going to get that right.
We are.
Get that right. But we got a lot of beautiful things to talk about, a lot of positive and some negative things to talk about. I mean, we're going to jump on in. Thank you, Queen, for, coming out to my crab fest that we just had. Girl,
so how did I get some of that crab like that? That first
Listen.
one was on.
Oh, you like that, right?
Oh, because I like spices, and that was the bomb.
Yeah. See, I keep on trying to tell folks, I really know how to cook.
I knew you know.
No, but I know you know. But people be thinking like, this dude be running his mouth. He can't. I'm telling you, I really know how to burn. That's one of my great gifts that I have. One of my talents. So the 6th annual Crab Fest, for those who came out, I appreciate it. For those who donated, appreciate it. Once again, shouts out to Sierra Health Foundation. They did some good sponsorship as well. Right. I need some other niggas to come hit me with the sponsorship they playing. For real. I ain't gonna even talk about that. But and
the stand-up was hilarious. I think that's where your money is.
My
sisters laughed so hard. We got, oh my God.
You know what the funny thing about it is, I have so many of these talents, right? I can literally do and run my own shows, but I have to do the stuff in the back, right? So I have to cook the crab.
That's where the money is.
My daughter, right? She sat there. Two of my kids. My daughter, my firstborn, and of course my not biological kid, but my other kid, right? They held it down with the youngsters. They had them youngsters like, this is what's gonna happen. I've been doing this for da-da-da-da-da. So that was beautiful because she just came back from Houston, so she just flipped off a plane and was jumped right into the fire pit.
Right.
And then I had my team. Shouts out to all the team Void that held it down. Queen Dana was holding it down. Kayla, Destiny. My daughter's mom was out there holding it down. So everybody came and everyone did their thing. So it was a blessing. It was a blessing to see that energy. I was able to give what we call the Impact Awards. So I'm the one that coined that out here in Sacramento, the Impact, right? So now you hearing help. The impact. I'm like, y'all, where were y'all at when I was saying this like 10 years ago, right? So the Community Impact Awards gave it to some folks that was deserving. Sierra Health Foundation, of course, the Simmons Centers. Brother Les Simmons and his family doing all great work in the community. You know what I mean? And of course, there's gonna be some other people that's gonna get the awards soon. Right on. So that's just kind of like a moment where it was so stressful, but I was so excited for it to finally now move and go away, count the little bit of monies that we made, and now go on to the next project. Which is a Black Expo and other stuff that we have coming on.
Right on. I love the way you build, Barry. I love the way you build. But for real, look at that stand-up. I'm just saying you could probably make a grip in the one show that you would make the whole year.
I'm probably, right? I need to think about that, right? Because it's like,
rolling.
Really, because I'm like, it's almost like I'm being funny, but I'm being serious. It comes off asshole-ish, but then it comes off as he's funny. So I don't know. I'm in between that. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to be a DJ before too.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I be listening to these DJs now because me and my brother used to do mixtapes and stuff like that. Back then, mixtapes of the tapes and everything. And I just never got into it because I think that I was in fear of doing things like that when I was younger. I didn't have the self-confidence, right? So for all those folks, when people are pushing you away, saying no, push up front and say yes. Try to do it when you're younger because when you're younger, you're more daring. But I was really scared about opinions, right? I was really scared about what the masses would say if I kind of did certain things. Because sometimes, you hang out with a bunch of people that look at you like, Negro,
please.
Yeah, exactly, right? So now I'm more daring and I'm definitely more, outgoing when it comes to things like the crab feed. Because I remember folks when I first started doing it, they were like, you shouldn't do it. I'm like, why? I'm like, they're like, well, this is this and this is that. They was giving me all the negatives. And I was like, man, I'm finna do it. When I even started my mentorship program, folks was like, yo, why are you doing a mentorship program? How are you going to do it? What does that look like? How are you going to get paid? I'm like, I'm going to start a mentorship program. So now at my ripe age, you know what I'm saying? I'm still young, but I'm more daring. And like now I'm okay with standing up and doing all those different things that I do, just aligning all my talents into one.
So one question for you is, how did you get past your fear? I mean, did it take some years?
Oh,
did something happen? And you was like,
know,
I'm going in.
Yeah, you know what I think it was? It was almost kind of like there was no longer, I no longer had a rope, right? And I had to figure out that it was all on me. So when I no longer had rope and had to figure out like, I can't turn to my friend. For instance, I had a fear of driving, right? I had a fear of driving. I had this idea that was cooped up in my mind when I got into a car accident, right? So I was just like, yo, I'm not going to drive no more. I don't want to do it. I don't want to get my license, blah, blah, blah. And I remember one time in particular, you know, I had tried to get a job and they were like, you need to have a license. And I didn't have my license. I'm like, yo. And I had to break this fear of me driving because I got into car accidents before. And I remember one time I got into this car accident and it was so crazy that I was like, yo, I'm never going to drive again. I thought in my mind I could utilize my people around me because we was always hanging out. Like I had chicks that pick me up, my mans. And then I finally was like, yo, I got to break this. I got to break this curse. I got to break this thought. And I jumped into it. So now it's always, to me, it's like, it's not failure unless you try, right? So now when I attempt something, I don't even look at the attempt of if it doesn't work out that I totally failed. I just look at it as the attempt that it wasn't my time, it wasn't my moment. Let me do something different. So I don't even look at all the stuff that I do now as any fear factor in it. It's like if I don't do it, then what? That's how I look at everything now. Like if I don't do it, then what? I can't go holler at my dad and say, yo, Pops, send me $5,000. I can't go holler at my aunties. It's all me. Right. So my thing is like, if it's on you, you have more purpose to kind of push through. And I look at life, I don't have a parachute. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to jump and dive.
So great. We're going to dive into this first topic. So I wakes up this morning, there's a press conference going on. I've been hearing this stuff for the last couple of days, these 5 days, whatever. What is your thoughts on this Jesse dude, you know, hoax or... I don't know, Barry. I'm having a hard time putting this together because I want to ask you this. I want to ask you this question.
Okay. When you first heard about it, your first initial reaction.
I didn't think it was real, but I didn't say nothing.
No, break down.
I just didn't think it was real. I don't think in Chicago. I've been in Chicago a lot of times. I go there at least once a year on a road trip, and I just can't see nobody in cold ass weather in Chicago right now because it's freezing. Wanting to jump on some dude who you can't clearly see that he's black. That's number one. Okay. Gay, nobody looks at you and really know you gay, even though people try to be flaming and all that. You're just a regular person walking down the street. So that just didn't make sense to me. Okay. In Chicago, I mean, maybe if you was in Idaho or, you know, or Cheyenne or something when you did where there's very few black people, I just didn't think it was real. Okay. So I was like, this Negro. I think sometimes people be trying to put 10 on 20 and they don't really know the history of how racism really works in America. But that's a whole other story. No,
but break that down, though.
The history in terms of when you look at racial attacks in America and what it really means to be black in America, and particularly in America, especially if you have a darker hue, which he does not have. So people be reading stuff. People use black folks all the time in America. You only claim us when you want something, you know, and so that's just was my feelings. I didn't really think it was real. So that's why I never really talked about it till this damn morning. I was like, oh.
Now, did you not talk about it because if you said what you had thought, the Blacklash from the black gay community would have come after you?
You know what? No. I mean, that's a good point because they are some bullies. I'm going to be flat out honest. But no, I didn't. I just felt like the dude wasn't on my radar. And the truth of the matter, I don't give a damn what happens to him. I'm being honest. That's how I feel. I'm more concerned about the two African brothers that got caught up because this dude, we should know that it's very different when you're a black immigrant. You're trying to get in to fit in. And I know that's hard for black folks because we like to think we're the only victims here in America. But it's hard when you're a black immigrant. I mean, they want to throw us out quickly than they do the other people who are here.
And quiet as kept.
Let's be honest.
Negroes is getting kicked out a lot more.
Yes!
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's true. That's true. They don't even get the same rights that other immigrants get. So, I mean, come on. Because usually Africans are here and they're getting it in. They usually get them degrees. I mean, they can really play this game because they still have culture intact to a degree. So I don't know, Barry. What did you think?
You know what? The reason why I asked you about it when I said, you know, did you not say anything because of the backlash you might get? And I call it blacklash because we get the blacklash. It don't be blacklash. Because I as I heard the story, I'm just like you, like, huh?
Chicago?
And not only Chicago, but how did folks know you were the guy from Empire. Negro, you're not that popular.
Oh, I didn't think about it. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, Negro, like, you're not that. Okay, dog. Like, to be perfectly honest, I know him from Empire because when Empire had that kind of streak where they were winning and everybody was tuned in, like, you kind of know the characters, right? But if it wasn't that moment, I would have been like, who? Jesse from where? It's not like the show or him as an actor is that relevant, right? It's not an Idris Elba or it's not a Denzel. It's not, a Tiffany Haddish. You know what I'm saying? It's none of those actors that you're okay. You can identify them with more than just that one show, right?
That's real talk.
Then again, like you said, the weather.
Cold as hell.
And then, Negro, who gets a Subway sandwich at 2 a.m.? Like
in Chicago, it's
in
cold
Chicago. Like, Negro, I'm gonna get like pizza, right? I'm gonna get a hot dog. I'm not gonna go in Chicago chili. I'm not gonna go get in Chicago a Subway sandwich. Okay, now I watched folks chime in, and because we are such a reactionary kind of people,
get it?
The emotional side of us took over instead of what? The common sense side.
That's
now, for all those who use logic, not emotion, and for those who, because I've been waiting for this to kind of unravel. Like, I'm excited. Like, when I, you know what I'm saying, Queen, when I text you, I was like, Queen, we got this whole, because I've been waiting to now say what I feel and my opinion and to piss some Negroes off probably, but to give you guys some real content on this. We as a people, and it's not just going to beat up on Jesse because it's also going to beat up on a system of that places a black man, gay black man, in a jail cell right now currently for false reports, but yet and still you had the white girl, Rachel, I don't forget her last name, the white girl Rachel, who posed, impersonated a black person for years, and she got a book deal.
But that's because black people, we like that.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
We want white people. We pass anybody off.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm with you.
And then, then they're jumping over to that. All of remember it was 2018, it was a year of calling false reports on black people.
Somebody just said she from Chicago. They don't go to Southern, they go to White Castle.
No doubt. Y'all, chime in with us. Chime in, just walk with us on this. So now, let's go in 2018, where a Negro was getting called for barbecuing. Yeah. A Negro was getting called for going into the apartment. A Negro
selling
was
water.
Selling water. A Negro was being accused, young, was being accused of sexual assault in a bodega. You had all of these, it was like BBQ Becky and all these different things that happened. And these white people who called the police on Negroes, nothing happened to them. But the embarrassment of memes that we made sure, and movements like the barbecue movement that happened in Oakland. Shout out to the Bay, because I was just out there, Lake. It was a beautiful thing. But no prosecution, no arrests, just embarrassment. Some folks were able to get on TV and kind of say why they did it, and it was gone. And the Rachel girl, as I brought up, look up the Rachel woman a few years ago that impersonated herself as being black.
She was the president of the NAACP.
She was the president of the NAACP. Now, to me, doesn't that show the lack not only of integrity, but falsifying who you are, because he falsified the details of this alleged attack, and she got book deals. Right. She got shamed, but then eventually got a book deal. This nigga is not only going to get shamed, he's now going to go probably take some prison time, and he's going to be the butt of the jokes forever. But the coldest thing that he's done is, again, he shamed black people. He shamed us on two levels. He shamed us on one level where our integrity now is kind of not intact. In a sense of...
The question is now, they're going to really...
Yeah, exactly. In a sense of us talking about race and talking about racial issues and talking about the emergency in America for racism. And then with the gay community, right? The black gay community. Right. Let's not even talk about the gay community, the black gay community, for all of the things that they deal with. Now folks are going to look at them with a different kind of lens, because he became so braggadocious during this moment that he called himself the gay Tupac. Woo. So, Queen, in this moment, Jesse took it and ran with it. So it wasn't like Jesse was victim. Yeah, it wasn't like Jesse was victim and sat there and said, you know what, I'm finna go fall back. I got this, and I'm gonna go on this crusade and talk about gay rights for black people and how we're subjected to this and that. He decided to, one, have his concert sell out. And that now shows you, because of the reasoning that they said he did this hoax was because of a salary dispute. He wasn't making no money. So, of course, because now everybody is with you, it sensationalizes you. And they're saying, oh, we feel sorry for Jesse. We're going to now support him and get on this bandwagon and support him and sell out his concert and sell out his show. Because before, we wanted to sell out his show. We wanted to care about his show. And his show, not TV, but his show as being a musical artist. So when you look at the framework of how both things kind of interfere with the gay black community and just the black community in general, and how we need to start looking at things with more logic and common sense than in this idea of emotion. Because when I looked through Facebook, I didn't say nothing until facts. I was waiting and waiting. I saw a lot of gay activists. I saw a lot of folks who really, I don't really believe that they're really for the gay movement. I think that they just be politically correct. And if it happens to gay people, they start standing. I stand with my brothers and sisters in the LBG. And that's not knocking it, but it's not really real. Because you weren't saying nothing before this. So I saw all these memes. We stand by Jesse. America, Black America was like on their heels with this whole hoax shit. And until you really started looking at the facts, and those folks from the Erykah Badu's who got ostracized for having an opinion.
Right on.
Who got ostracized for having an opinion, who started to use logic, who started to use common sense. Like, we got dogged. And I purposely didn't say nothing because I wanted to watch this shit play out. And now I want to say, Negro, silly Negroes, you look foolish. You look foolish. Why? Because we can no longer think. Not because the Chicago police is crooked, because them motherfuckers is crooked. They ain't no heroes today. They crooked. If they could do what they did in the crimes in Chicago like they did for Jesse, we would definitely have less crime in Chicago. Let's be very clear. And they have just covered up some shit with that the brother McDonald's. And Chicago just allowed those 3 officers who helped cover up the officer that got convicted to kind of walk. So Chicago PD gets no applause from me, right? And I don't believe them for anything that they brought out. But what I do believe is logic and common sense that I saw. You pointed out. Negro, you're not going to go look for a subway at 2 a.m. with 2 degrees weather out in Chicago. You're just not.
He's supposed to be a White Castle.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, though. And so when you look at the logic and then the idea of him, if you got beat up. You had a few scratches. You had some scratches. If you got beat up like that, them dudes is going to maul you. And the simple fact that they were like, oh, you're the guy from Empire. Negro, nobody knows you. And then also, the reality of he had a noose still on his neck. As soon as I had got up.
Maybe that was the shirt that they had from Gucci.
Oh. You mean Prada? No, it's
Burberry. It's Burberry. That's talking Burberry. Maybe he had that shirt on.
I don't know.
He thought it was.
Exactly.
You know, maybe.
But wouldn't you take this stuff off? I'd be like, oh, yo, I'm off. Get this off me. I'm not going to walk around with a noose. So it's like, folks, don't get mad at the people that use common sense and logic. Don't get upset about opinion. And it's not about us believing what the statements of the police or not wanting to believe the victim. It's just common sense tells me, just like common sense tells me that Virgin Mary, you know what I'm saying?
Pregnant without a penis?
Okay, just being honest.
Right.
That's why I can't fall into that part of the equation. That's a whole nother topic. We ain't going to even go there.
Yeah.
But let's start using common sense and logic when we think and look at things. We have to be smarter than this because we look stupid. We look stupid for taking this ride that Jesse put us on. We look stupid for watching this Good Morning America interview and really having sympathy for it. We look stupid when we really try to debate people to say, man, this is looking like this is looking like this, because we don't want to trust the system. I understand we don't want to trust the system, but I don't trust these Negroes as well, who are part of the system.
Barry, you sound like we at war, dude. We in a war.
Niggas don't understand that we at war. Niggas think this is like we on enemy lines, and niggas think that we at freaking Fantasy Island.
But so Ian says on here, we have to be careful not to buy into holding him to this level or standard judgment. He's made mistakes or bad decisions and consciousness. He is not the poster boy for black gay community nor the black community. I get it. You just keep talking. So what you think about that statement?
You know what? But and he's made a mistake, but he's made a huge mistake, and the mistake that he made was something that sets black people up for things. Here's the thing. Let's get deep into this. Let's be honest. Him setting up the whole MAG situation allows those people more power than they've ever imagined today, because now they have been targeted for wrong reasons when they really need to be targeted for the right reason. And the wrong reason was that this dude came up with a false report and really created this idea utilizing Trumpism as a part of the reason why he got attacked. And now when folks who are part of the whole MAG movement, they're going to be like, you see, because they usually don't have to deal with controversy like this. But we know that the MAG folks and how crazy they are and how radical they are, it's real. But what he did is utilize it as a joke and then kind of created this thing like someone sought him out. So while when they are seeking people out for real, folks are going to be like, well, is that really what happened?
And do you think this has anything to do with the white actor who said when his friend was raped by a black man, he went out looking for a black man to kill? And
and that's another part that frustrates me, because this bum was able to go ahead and say what he said and have his kind of moment where he was going through the circuits and apologizing and saying, I walked off racism. And now what we have is Jesse alleviating that guy, so he's off the hook, because we're all now focused on his hoax, his silly Negro-ness. And I think that frustrates me, because there are really hate crimes happening.
Right.
There are really hate crimes happening for gay people and black people all together. And what it does, it takes away the sensitivity of that nature, because this dude, because of his selfishness. And so when we go back to the one of our folks that hit us up just with that question, I'm looking at the selfishness, and that Negro does need to be held in high regard because of the selfishness. He didn't do it to put awareness. If he said, I did it because I wanted more awareness on what's really going on with other people outside of myself with Trumpism, like I know people that have been attacked by people that wear MAGA hats. I know the rhetoric that the MAGA people have on social media. If he did it for that purpose, to put awareness, I would kind of applaud the sacrifice. But he did it for money. He did it for attention. He's a sociopath. So he did not worry about anyone, his family that's continued to protect him. What's his name? The director, Lee Daniels, that was doing his whole hobo, jobo, silly Negro shit. Do you think he may be in on this? I feel like all these Negroes is in on something. He sent a letter to a letter he sent that threatened him. I mean, it almost lets Donald Trump off the hook for Donald Trump shit. And I get pissed off at that.
Yeah, well, let me say this. Brother King said this, and I think this sums up everything. He said he played on a political climate and it backfired. And I feel like that's probably what it's about. Because here's the thing. I ain't worried about white people. I'm not letting them off the hook, but they are not my concern. What is my concern is when people, because we have some things inside our race, like people who are like Jesse, because Jesse's not a full black man. He's half. And so he plays that half card too. That's probably how he got on Empire. He wouldn't have been on Empire looking like you. So I feel like there's all these other things where people get more props or be valued more, or they're valued more. And we don't want to talk about that as black people, because then we want to go into, we got to protect everybody. No. Some people are not on our team, and I think he's not on our team. I think he do what a lot of people do. They play black people. They use us where they can utilize us, but they don't really want to be us. They don't really want to be us.
Okay, I like that. And one of the brothers, one of the family, and we love the fact that y'all are coming in and everyone's chiming in, because we want to chime in on this. Yeah. One of the brothers said that he doesn't make us look stupid. He does. Like, for any black person that doesn't think that you don't fall into this category, even if you don't think, you do.
Yeah, but you know what? But what I would say about the sister who said that, I think that's beautiful, because you know what? White people do that. I think that's something that we don't have the luxury.
We don't.
That we could do. Like, for instance, if a black man did something bad on the news, my mom would be like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
You would think this dude was related to it. You know what I'm saying? Because when people see him, they see us.
Yes.
But a white person could do something that look like that guy's an asshole.
Yes.
They don't even claim this for.
Yes, that's what it is.
They're not connected like that.
But we are connected to this.
I know, but we try to be. Look, but sometimes it's too embarrassing. It's too much sometimes.
I understand it is, but we are connected.
There.
I mean, as much as...
It's just too much. It's too much sometimes.
I'm just
saying.
Like, yeah, we are connected because they don't look at us as anything different. Like, to be honest with you, they don't look at us they look at us as a group.
A collective.
Yep. Like, we don't work as a collective, but they look at us as a collective.
That's my point.
So that's just the only thing. So, understandably, I don't feel stupid because, you know, I didn't believe the whole BS in it. But as a collective, this don't look good for us. It don't, especially the way he tried to roll it out.
Yeah.
He didn't stop. I'm the gay Tupac. Okay, you out there poking your chest out.
Not to mention, how would they know? What if they thought he was a Latino, sorry. What if they thought he was, I don't know, a white guy, depending on how his hair was laid or what he had on? That nobody could clearly see he was black, and nobody could clearly see he was gay, because you never know if somebody's gay. If they just standing there straight.
This is the most unpopular Negro that I know on TV, that some people walking at 2 a.m. going to Subway just like you
and not White Castle. There's something about you go to the wrong place. It's like trying to call the police and you want to prove to them that you white, and they ask you what you put on your food, and if you say hot sauce and know you black, you're supposed to say mayonnaise, because black people supposedly don't eat mayonnaise. It's just a joke, but I think he didn't really study the black isms. If you're gonna try to monopolize or capitalize off of blackness, at least know your community that you're gonna steal from, like white people do.
I think he was really trying to capitalize on the gayness, not the blackness.
Well, yeah, he threw that in there because you get more vote, you get more stuff, you know, with blackness.
I think that he was trying to move more with the gay agenda, because I don't think that the blackness really would have worked. Brother Keon said he's a circus clown, and I would love, Brother Keon, I would love for you to say why. Why do you feel he's a circus clown? Because I believe he's a clown as well, and I believe I believe the Negroes that followed his rhetoric are clowns as well. Because again, you guys went for the banana in the tailpipe. Black people, the only way we're going to make a move that's going to be pointed, strategic, and fierce if we start using logic, common sense, and take away the reactional emotions.
Logic don't get you views. Logic don't. We like to be entertained. We like stuff in the extreme. And again, I'm gonna be honest. We don't see ourselves as a group of people trying to get somewhere. Most of us don't even know we black. Most of us don't even want to be black. You know, we mix, we this, we that. We want to be everything but what the world sees you as. So I get you with the logic. How you think people felt when they were trying to get the freedom? Hell, how you think Harriet Tubman felt? Hell, how you think Nat Turner felt? When you know clearly we were under attack and it was time to fight, Negroes are scared, like, I gotta go pick that cotton in the morning.
Wow.
Like, I mean, let's just be honest, y'all. And I think that's a hard kind of sell. Like, I joke a lot about stuff, because if I really wasn't joking, you know, I probably had straight up high blood pressure. That's why I laugh a lot of things that you may think that's not funny. But it's funny to me because I don't understand why we make excuses for people. Instead, I would wonder what happened if he was a fake, trying to do this stuff on the Jewish people and it turned out to be a lie. He would probably disappear. Because they have bigger things, there's too much riding on them as a people. And I know I hate to keep using them. I think sometimes there's no consequences, but when you shit on black people, how do you think that make our ancestors feel who really were under attack? How do you think that make them feel? Go to the lynching memorial in Montgomery, Alabama, and then tell Jesse, what the hell wrong with you? Why would you play like that when people were lynched for looking at people or walking down the street wrong? Or no, y'all, he don't get to be off the hook.
Listen,
this nigga gonna be on the hook and we gonna fry his ass.
Yeah, Emmett Till died because of a lie.
There you go.
Died because of a lie. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's in this precious moment where now folks are realizing racism hasn't gone anywhere. If we were all in and believed the Jesse story, that would have violated so many other things that could have happened after, right? For us now, because we've engaged in now this warfare, for folks who should know, we have been at warfare, but now in such a real lens for other people, now black people, innocent in their way, but seeing how the story affected them, are now just punching people that wear MAGA hats, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I've chased down folks that had MAGA gear on, but the only time I did that when they disrespected folks that they were trying to antagonize. But I didn't see them with the hat and automatically have this reaction, right? Because I would be doing that all day. So the reaction for me is when someone wears a hat like that, it's kind of like, all right, that's how you feel. But you ain't going to come with me with your philosophy. You ain't going to be coming over here bogarting. That's not going to happen. That's when we go into some gangster shit, right? That's not trying to be a tough guy. That's just being, there's going to be limits. So what he was really angling and what he was going to create wasn't about him. And that's what he has to understand. It was going to be a bigger situation because the intensity of what this culture is right now with how that MAGA hats and gear affects people of color, it would have extremely been more volatile if things continue to play out and not end today. It could if we continue to get that spotlight to continue to spew the lie, it could have been boiled in something bigger. And I don't think that folks really understand that part. What you just chimed in, damn silly ass Negro. Black people got lynched for real.
Yo, that's real talk.
There are black people to this day right now getting lynched. Today, 2019. We have black people going missing every day, and that's just not by coincidence.
Right on.
You got black people being found with none of their organs.
Right on.
So for him to go out here because of some selfishness and because of some money, because he's rooted in his own white supremacy.
Shut your mouth!
Stop it! Just being honest.
That's so true.
He's rooted in his own white supremacy, his own classism.
Yep.
He utilized his fame, his popularity, because any average normal Negro like you and I wouldn't have been able to get this kind of fanfare. We would have been looked upon and kind of like, all right, they might have ran with it because of the MAGA stuff, but you utilize that when we have so much other stuff that you could have utilized your fame for to empower. You did this to make us look ridiculous, to almost make us look that when we're saying racism, when we're talking about the things that hold us back or kind of futile, and it's in the past, it's not in the future.
Yeah.
You played yourself.
Yeah.
Not only did you play yourself, you try to play us. But this is also another lesson for those people that want to hear the rhetoric of folks you don't know. Negroes, they don't know Jesse. You know him from a character that he plays. So when you sit there and you run behind someone because a story, it hits your heart and you want to believe, black people think with logic. Think with logic and common sense. When the things start sliding and playing out, before you make a comment, before you get behind something, start asking yourself questions like, that don't sound right.
Hello.
And I think that's where we got to be at with this whole thing.
That's real talk. You right on, Barry. You right on. Which brings me to the mayor's State of the City speech. Did you listen to it?
Man, I heard some good stuff, and I heard some all right stuff. But
shouts out
to Jackie Rose for getting the key to the city.
Right on.
Miss Rose.
Long overdue. But before we get to him, what about our city council? We can't leave him out because he got up there and said some stuff. So.
I didn't hear that part. I was focused.
Because he basically said that 33% South Sacramento, his area rather, is mainly Latinos and not black.
He said
folks.
That at the
Yes, he did.
Again?
Yes, he did.
Because he said that behind closed door, and then he said that.
Yes, he did. Even though all you see is black folks all day long up in South Sacramento, and that's one. Second thing he said was that we are the lowest crime rate in the city.
What, in Meadowview?
That's what he said. Now, I don't know, silly politician Negroes. And if you're not one of them, don't take it personal. But if you know, if this feel like your shoe size, put your feet in it and lace it up and goddamn it, walk up and down it.
Yeah, be comfortable with it.
Yeah. That was just some of the things
I just think if we're gonna go that route first, I just think that sometimes you know a lot of public officials, unfortunately, they don't have a real lens of what's going on in the community. I mean, they get the votes, but they don't really have no hope or idea what's happening in the community. And a lot of the times they know what's happening by reports that they're getting from consensus or folks that check in with them, you know, in the community that's trying to get into the pockets. Mm-hmm. And when folks, you know, email or call or make complaints, I don't really know they know the proper lens. So for him to say it, maybe in numbers he probably is accurate, but in the reality it doesn't look the way I see it, right? And maybe there is crime down, but I know poverty's up. I know opportunities is down. You know what I'm saying? I know poverty's up and opportunities are down, and I don't see that community that I got to work with in the summertime really striving. I think they have the same issues as the other community that's underserved and overly policed. That's just kind of like the reaction that I got. I think that my whole big thing about everything that was said was more or less what was said from the mayor. And in content to what the mayor said about the investment, the major investment from with the Measure U monies and things like that, I want to also now go into all of those folks that continuously berate, disrespect, and slander all those community leaders, all those sellout Negroes, all these fake poverty pimps and everything else that you say. The mayor was talking the language because Negroes like myself and others have continuously put our foot on their neck. That's why the mayor was talking like that. It didn't have to do more or less with just the Stephon Clark tragedy. That was like kind of the open box to allow folks like myself, you, and a lot of other individuals who have been talking about this opportunity that we are not getting in these communities, this lack thereof, not services, but lack thereof sustainable businesses that kind of look like the culture that's in these communities. The fact that black economics, let me say that again.
Get that. Black
economics are not being viewed as a thing. It's being viewed in this bunch where you put youth, where you put people of color, where you put us all. We are now talking about black. These are conversations that are happening in war rooms that a lot of folks sometimes aren't privy to understand because it's not being posted on social media every day, right? And just kind of think that when you're sitting down having conversations with these folks that you're selling your soul. Like, I'm not a soul seller. I don't sell my soul out for nobody. I come in unapologetically, and guess what? The truth is that the mayor speaking that talk, let me give you a story about the mayor. And I think I've shared this before. 2016, mayor was over at Oak Park. He was doing a debate with some of the other candidates at that particular time. He wasn't the mayor then. He was talking about youth. This is kind of like we had just kind of got over the Eric Gardner, the Mike Brown, all those police shootings and things of that nature. So there was a new era of activism happening in Sacramento at this particular time, right? Spawned on by the uprising of Ferguson as well as the Trayvon Martin incident in 2013, where we were starting to look at this like, it's enough. We can't pretend like shit's not going down. Things are happening. It's also happening in our community. I sat there and I asked the mayor, I said, Mayor, if you were going to become mayor, what are you going to do about the underlining anthem of the lack thereof, black economics? Because this was the way right at the time, Oak Park is being gentrified, right? It's getting gentrified by 10, right? He looked at me and was like, I just got done talking about the youth. I said, no, you was talking about youth programming and youth. But what is going to be your investment if you're a mayor for black people in these underserved communities? Like, are you going to start focus on black economics? Now, privy to this, folks, if you go into my YouTube, you'll see I always have been talking about black economics. Matter of fact, I did this whole spill where I went down Franklin Boulevard, I went down Stockton Boulevard, and I showed the economics of Latinos and Asians, and kind of was like, can't find nothing for black people because we don't have anything as a center. So I was aiming to ask him, well, where are we going to be at? Like, where's our little Africa? and he didn't understand it, how to answer the question, and he got pissed off and ticked off at the question like I was asking him something wrong, right? So we got into it. You know what I'm saying? We got into it. What the mayor didn't know, I was one of those new somebodies that was pushing this new kind of leadership in a different way than all these keepers of the gate that he was used to talking to. So now it's like a different conversation. You're going to have to talk to people that relatively have the real pulse and know what we need to do to get charged up and lift up in these communities. Not just give us services, thank you for the $100,000 for 3 years, and then we gone. No, we want real equitable, real things that are sustainable, that are in our community. If you're going to have a renaissance in downtown Sacramento, you're going to have a renaissance in all over parts of Sacramento, right? So those kind of were a precursor, and then the Stephon Clark came, and it was more than just a murder of a black kid. It was like racism, equity, equality, lack there of services, lack there of resources, lack there of access for black people. So now, when you have a mayor seeing this in a different kind of lens, as a Jewish man, he kind of understands an oppressed kind of situation, but in a way that they were oppressed and they started to strive. He has to kind of look at us now, as a lot of us have leaned in, as my brother Les Simmons would say, into telling him, this is what's actually happening, and what the hell are you going to do with all these monies coming in? So that's the real truth of the matter on that.
Let me just say this, because I got to bring some other angles into this. First of all, LinkedIn was coined by Kelly Todd. That's
really?
Yes, it was coined by her. I never even heard the term. I'm so serious. That was no, he got that from Kelly Todd. Really? But it's okay. So that's how I said. Well, because I said,
won't take that.
No, keep using it, Barry. So that's one. But let me just say this. Okay. I think it's very hard to ask any other man to help you get economics. So let me just give you a little bit of history lesson. Oak Park used to be thriving with black businesses. Elder Creek had it. That's why it pays in no history. When the 70s came, there was all these black awareness. There were Negroes who did not like that, who wanted to be integrated, and basically they sold those people out. That's why when we and you show up, to some people, it don't feel new to them because they seen us 35, 40 years ago and thought they killed us. But they didn't know the people before they left planted some seeds. Okay. That's number one. Number two, you can't really compare us to Jewish people. You know why? I mean, I'm saying in this instance, because they made a pact after the Holocaust
to not be oppressed again.
Not only to be oppressed again, but to own their stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying.
Which means they stood together. There's no way in hell the mayor can give us nothing when we got Negroes holding the gate. When you have middle-class Negroes, when we talk about anything black, they acting like we're being black supremacists, which is, the word don't even make no goddamn sense. Can't be a black supremacist.
It's just like black people are racist.
Right, you just can't be. You could be prejudiced, because racism is prejudice plus power, which we ain't got. Thank you, Sister Soldier, for helping me to understand that logic. Because that's where I learned that as a teen. Racism is prejudice plus power, and we ain't got any. So here the mayor is, if our so-called black Negro leaders, or whatever we want to call them, silly Negroes, I like that term too, they never want us, because they don't think that they don't believe that we could do anything for ourselves without white people. They just don't believe it, Barry. And that's why you can have so-called organizations that have been around for 100 years, and we in worse conditions when they first started from the Niagara movie, which was funded. No disrespect to NAACP. The advancement of colored people. I'm not colored. I'm an original black person. Black people made everybody on the planet. So how the hell I get to be colored and white get to be distinctive? So I think, and I love the way you push that lie, you're supposed to, but at some point,
I like how you said that.
At some point, we got to check those Negroes who don't want us to have anything for ourselves, Barry. These are the people, if you go to the places where the Latinos were, we were there first. We kicked in the door for all of them to come in here. Then we got to deal with their racist ass.
And we always hear more or less the indigenous people were here before us. And we're not the indigenous people.
You know what? Ooh, that's a whole other conversation. Because indigenous meaning what? Yes, the native people here, or black folks were here first, but we also got bleached out. And it's okay to talk about bleaching out. I studied the third root in Mexico. And when you look back at their history, at their hieroglyphics on their wall that they now have in the museum, that those people were purpley black. They're blacker than you, Barry. So how do they go from you to the Indian we see now? Or the native people we see now? That's the real conversation. But I'll say it like this. Look at black people now. they don't necessarily show anybody who look like you on TV, but they'll show somebody who look like Jesse and say he black, but this dude right here is black. So why we don't get to see him? That's why I keep pointing that out. So we know how to whitewash a people. Because that was the plan in slavery.
Wow. Yeah.
And no more black babies coming out. We need some brown babies. We need some yellow babies. Come on, y'all. And so now those descendants, because I always look who's on people's arms. What your wife look like? You know, who is anybody in your family? When I go places, I ain't going to front. When I travel the world, I want to see what the darkest person's reality is. Because if they're okay, if we taking care of Barry, and Barry could be a man, and Barry could own business, and Barry could own his house, it's going to be better for everybody. But why do we don't want black people to own their own stuff? Why we got all these silly Negroes at the table, and here our councilmen will talk about Latinos, and they just shit all on the black folks. Like, us being here don't mean shit. Wow. This coming from a black, bald-headed black man. Even though he looked like, here he is, here's another beige Negro.
Talk to him.
Because he ain't clearly a black man. Let's just be honest about it. People don't get mad. I'm just telling you the truth. Because at some point, y'all, we got to stop being politically correct and tell the goddamn truth. And that's just beyond. And that's what I love about you, Barry, because you'll light a person up. We need, and because another thing they did is they took all those freedom fighters and they locked their asses up. Yeah. And they killed them. The ones they couldn't kill, they locked up. So now you have, just because you see a black face in high places don't mean shit for us.
Not that part. That
don't mean nothing for us.
And you know, and thank you, Queen. Like, that language and how you, like, just laminated that whole piece. That's so important. But I'm just saying, from my scale and my idea, that I'm hard-pressed to remember a time. Because remember, we had a black mayor.
Oh, I ain't talking about that. That's one of them.
So I'm just saying.
That's one of them beige
we
Negroes.
Had a black mayor.
And didn't even marry a black woman, and then helped to basically gentrify his own community. So you don't get at the Darryl Steinberg. Yeah. You get at to Kevin Johnson.
Yeah. So that
who kicked out all the black people on his corner to bring some white people in there, but kept his mama's business.
And let me also preference this.
Cause that, you know, you think about it, you be like, damn, we got clear enemies, and then we got enemies in the house.
And then the thing about it is the Negro, because he was.
That's my point, Barry.
And I tried it when I was talking to my people in Oakland yesterday. You know, the day before yesterday when I was out there in the Obama Foundation thing. That's a whole other conversation. I was explaining to him that he rode the wave of
Obama, because he was going to get the hell of Fargo.
Yeah, because I mean, that was the wave. And the thing about it is now, here was a black man that not only did he marry a black woman, but helped push out a lot of black folk, right? But at the same particular time, when it was time for him to get the walking papers, the same people that he helped the most, the supremacists, gave his ass the walking papers and allowed the scandals that were being upheld to kind of go. Like, they're like, a phone call was like, all right, let it go. Let it all happen.
Get one of them loose shirts.
Exactly. So here has a Negro, basically, you know, a lot of Negroes lynched themselves. You know what I'm saying? Right, because they don't want to keep into this. And that's why I'd rather remain who I am. I can't be a sellout because my heart doesn't tell me to kind of move in that way. And I'm saying, in a sense of what Steinberg, I'm not going to give him credit as if, you know, he saw the light, because as I preferenced the conversation, I sat there in 2016 and told this mother effer there's an issue. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but there's an issue. He blindly didn't realize it until Stephon Clark came, and it's like now other people outside of what I was saying are now saying, well, there is this issue, there is that issue, there's that issue. I will give credit where credit is due on one piece, that the way he said what he said made sense. But now the problem comes, are we as black people going to hold his feet to the fire? Because it's good to say it. Now, I know what they're talking. They're talking that this whole Meadowview and Mac Road and all these other places could be gentrified. But are we going to allow it to be gentrified? And that becomes a case to where, do we play a back road to that, or we right in there? Okay, well, check out, this is what you said, homeboy. So we don't need all these white developers that you've had that did downtown. We got some black developers from here to there to kind of create what we see. And I think it is more revitalizing, not gentrifying, revitalizing our community.
I think we need to have some home ownership in our community, because when you own it, you could do whatever you need to do with it. I think it's not about affordable housing. I think if anybody's paying over $1,000 for rent, that needs to be turned into a mortgage. So that's when that's really getting in.
Let's talk about
that's really getting in. We talk about some home ownership. I'm going to say this, and I'm not defending the mayor, but also what I gotta always go, because see, white people, you can almost guilt them into doing stuff.
Okay.
You can't guilt a nigga into doing nothing for itself. You can't guilt a black person doing nothing for themselves. You just can't. A silly nigga, you can't guilt them.
I love how you get that
they
silly
feel
nigga
like, oh, I love that, Barry. That Barry point that. But I'm saying that to say, Barry, that there is something about when you see white people reacting, there is usually one of us in there giving them the green light. So you weren't the only black person trying to holler at him. You probably were the only one in terms of what your agenda. But there was a lot of Negroes who was cool with the $200,000 they was gonna give him, or you know what I'm saying. Never thinking about the rest of your community.
That's what I'm saying, and that's
in his ear. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
I get that.
let's just be honest about that. I mean,
and that becomes the issue, because when I'm standardizing like my idea and my thought for community, and others are kind of their standard conversation is for individuality.
That's my point.
And I think Queen JB was talking about that. She's saying,
says define silly Negro. Sorry about that.
Oh man, that's a whole different level. We're gonna talk about that later. But I think Juana Butler was talking about individually, rather than collectively, because that's kind of our attitude. That's why when I spoke to him with that rhetoric, he didn't know how to respond, because he's looking like, what are you talking about? Not saying, you know what, I have some ideas. Let me get your phone number and have it to his handlers. Because what has happened...
He has to go talk to the Negroes.
And what he did, and let me tell you, when he talked to the silly Negroes, he asked, who is this Barry Axios guy? And they probably said, oh shit, we forgot to tell you. It's a new Negro in town. And he don't play by our rules. We can't control him.
We can't control him.
You can't control him. Because you know what happened? Later on, I got a call from one of his handlers, and they sat down and had dinner with me. So, the dawning of a new day is here. So what I'm saying to Negroes, it's not that we now celebrate. It's like, okay, now he's talking we've changed the narrative. We've shifted the narrative, because now he's understanding what he has to do. We now need to execute the plan, because we cannot do any of this stuff without navigating in the enemy's territory in some capacity to be able to get. See, my thing is like this. For instance, when I get a grant or something like that, my mission is not to empower Barry. My mission is to empower my people. So I empower, my young people. I create some different ideas. Okay, we're going to go to the college course. Boom, we got that. Let me think about some entrepreneurial type of thing. Let's do financial kind of classes. Boom. Okay, let me think about this stuff. Oh man, let me open up this small business for my youngsters that they can go work and get some monies. So it's about empowerment, right? It's about really kind of utilizing what my enemy's laying out to create more. It's like doubling it up. That's like the hustler in me, But I don't think that people have that mentality, because they don't see.
Because they're used to having a job, Barry.
There you go.
Shit, they need white people to tell them, this is when you go to the bathroom. This is what your poo-poo should look like. You know what I mean? This is when you can leave the bathroom. This is when you can buy toilet paper. I mean, some of us are robot Negroes, if you will. You know what I'm saying? What you're talking about, imagine this. Right out of slavery, they said we have more businesses and more stuff right out of slavery.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
And we can't even freaking find, like, I've been doing a 28-day Black Restaurants. In Sacramento, you're failing. But I was pleased to see, going to Berkeley, my Ethiopians got all type of shit. I applaud my people. I saw more Ethiopian restaurants like Queen Sheba, like it was like taquerias out there. I was excited. I was like, wait a minute. There's one on one corner. There's one a few blocks away. And they all selling about the same product, but they're there. And that's the type of thing that we have to have without compromise, without apologizing. But that's what we're going to have to finally see. Are the Negroes ready for that? I asked my brother Les.
Even they ain't ready. We moving through.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I asked my brother Les. I said, do you think Negroes are actually ready to not just be served, to be serving, right? Because we're used to
free. So we used to serving.
We're used to free, right? Negro put free. Like I got a pop-up event on Friday, free barbecue. Negroes is used to free. But once you start paying, like I said, crab feed $50, a nigga want me to give them free soda. A nigga want me to give them hot pasta. You know what I'm saying? A nigga got upset when I gave them a free appetizer and was like, well, I need more. A nigga want more and more and more. But the thing about it is what? Crab Fest fundraiser. This is about us making money. So you're going to get charged for damn near walking in asking for some tissue. You know what I'm saying? But once Negroes hear free. Huh?
You think we did ask that from other people?
Oh, my God. Come on. I never see a Negro, except for me, because I'm just the type of guy, that will go into like a Burger King and ask for a couple more fries when that little small fry come to him. Like, yo, give me a couple more fries. But when a Negro at a Negro restaurant, I'm like, God, put more, God damn, bro. Give me a little bit more mac on this, you know what I'm saying? We just, that's how we are. Oh, damn, let me get another chicken wing. God damn, bro. But we are okay with any other culture. We're not going to the Latino spots and taquerios like, oh, man, more Spanish rice, bro. Come on. I know I do that, but Negroes don't commonly do that. So that's a kind of the moment. The moment is now we have the state of the city. He said he's going to do this. We don't believe because we need to see the action. But I would rather, now the conversation is out there, less than the conversation never be on the table. So now the conversation's on the table, we have to now level up to be able to say, now we can get it and take it.
I agree. Bear, I'm not disagreeing with that you're saying. I just know because I do a lot of research in history. Because I think that's how the other team do it. Yeah. He ain't the mayor because he didn't do his research and he ain't coming down the line because he's a part of somebody's continuum himself. But I just know with black folks, we'll be so happy with the shiny stuff. Like say Obama was like a shiny new stick. You know, we was so excited about him, but they put forth no plan. Didn't have a plan if that plan didn't work. Like these people, as they're giving you something, they're in the back making up 20 laws to take this shit back. And we still up here celebrating on the one victory. It wasn't really even a victory. It was kind of like one access to a conversation. It didn't like you even got anything really from it. And that's what's going to be the testing point, is to see how many berry-minded people, you know, who talk about home ownership, businesses, blah, 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 as opposed to niggas say, give me all the money, and then I'll make sure it trickles to the rest of the Negroes. Because if you know anything about a trickle down, it don't really trickle down, because by the time it gets to the ground, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. And then we're going to be out there trying to fight for more. And can we socialize Negroes to kind of support on their own businesses? Sister came to the African marketplace, and she just past Saturday, shouts out to the African marketplace, Brother Raw, and everybody else that continues to do it 4 years plus in the making. And I'm happy to say that I was a part of the branding, the building, one of the originals of that African marketplace, and continuing to, you know, strive into my business, you know, Void Cafe, the soon to be Cafe Deja Vu. You know, just want to kind of utilize that name because I know as I move into like the restaurant biz deeper, Void Cafe won't work. But that's another conversation. Sister came from New York, and you know us East Coast folks, we always be like, man, where the patties, where the, you know what I'm saying, where the Caribbean food at? You know, we all into that. Like, so she came in, and I'm telling oxtails, you know, gold. She looking at me like, yo, what the fuck you know about like this shit? And I'm like, yo, trust me, I got the skills. And she's just like, I'm gonna buy 2 plates. So I'm hoping that it is as good as what you're saying. She's like, because I want to support it. She's like, because I can't find this food nowhere. And I don't understand why we are constantly buying food from other people and their buildings. They can strive. There's corners, like I just said about the Ethiopian food that I saw in Berkeley, that I was so excited that there were stores that the same kind of restaurant, different people that own it, that was around the corner, down the block. It was in the radius, right? Just like Taco Rio's over here. Like you got Super Taco over here, then right down here, Johnny Joe Taco Rio, then right over there in the corner, Taco. You know, it's like all right here. She's like, I don't understand why we don't support our own food, like our own culture. I said, I don't understand it. So when she ate the food and she was so excited, she said, oh man, I'm gonna take another one to go. So she got 3 plates. I was like, all right. She's all, whenever you start or open up a storefront, I'm gonna make sure that you survive. And she was talking about all the storefronts that we've had that just didn't work. And she was saying, how does it not work for us, but for everybody else, it works? Because it's not like Thai food is that different from Thai spice to Thai deluxe.
Thai royal,
Thai royal.
Yeah, all
it's
that.
all Thai
That's
food. You understand? They might have the one Thai curry might be a pumpkin Thai curry, and the other one might be a green Thai curry, but it's all the same kind of food. So what is it that makes us not support each other and expound our own businesses? And that becomes an issue when you're having to be in a community that's filled with black people, enough black people to keep businesses thriving. You constantly seeing black businesses shut down. You're constantly seeing the lack thereof support. You're constantly seeing the lack thereof ingenuity, because one of the Jamaican restaurants that was here short-lived that got replaced, come to find out, by a Thai restaurant. I remember when they gave me, remember that joint? And I don't want to talk bad about them, but they're not in the business no more, so I can say about it. They gave me an oxtail when I just got back home from the East Coast. This is some years ago, right? And my daughter was laughing. I said, "What you laughing?" I took a phone call. She's all, "Look at your plate, Dad." And you know, we both like oxtail. It was like, bow, rice, and I'm looking at this. Negro gave me one oxtail for $15. I said, "Bro," I said, "Yo," he's all, "Oh, wah, wah." He gave me 2 more small oxtails. I said, "I'll never eat here again."
Look, man, I think the other thing that other groups have in common that we don't have in common, probably 2 things. One, they can identify with the importance of their culture and why they have to help it to survive. We'll do more to help you survive your stint in prison than the motherfuckers on the outside that have to make the money to help you survive that experience.
That's crazy.
I know that sounds jacked up. Well, it seems like sometimes in some black cultures we identify so much with the gutter that we can't even sustain ourselves. Like it's kind of like we are okay with being the floor. And the other part is a lot of it has to do with just self-hatred. We don't really value each other, Barry. We don't really understand Caribbean culture. One of the things I love about the East Coast, and this is one thing I come to learn over the years, there are probably more Caribbean people on the East Coast because that's where the Caribbean is. And so they still have an important culture that they can identify and have respect for. Most of us don't know where we're from in the South. We know we came up from the South, and I ain't talking about the Negroes, so they defended the Native people. All them silly Negroes. I just feel like, could you please go to Stand and Rock and go help them people, because you can't go up there because they don't want silly Negroes up there. They need warriors up there. You're not one of them. So I just feel like, Barry, like when I hear you talking, I say, wow, that even Caribbean black folks still hold on to something in their culture. When I went to Jamaica a couple of years back, man, they was like some of the blackest people I ever met. When I went to Haiti, they were the blackest people I ever met. I mean, there is some pride there about who you are, your ethnicity, your culture, the whole nine. With us here, we want to be mixed with every goddamn thing. We don't want to identify as being black. We'll go give our money to everybody else, even though they follow you around the goddamn store and calling you a nigga in Spanish or whatever. We still want to prove to them that we're good people. We're still trying to prove that we're human beings. Who the hell does that?
No. I mean, and then you know what, and just like talking about learning about our culture, and your sister was always there saying about, her husband and her, the way they want to learn about their culture. Well, I don't understand how we didn't make a big fight about, black history in a way that the LGBT community sat there and said, now they got it where in some schools they're going to learn about their history.
Because it's white. Okay, the LBGQ, I call them the letter people. That's white supremacy. That's straight up. That's why they get all these things passed. It ain't because it's a black gay man or a black lesbian woman. This is white supremacy. And these are the people who I'm going to be honest, these are the people who brutalized us in slavery and told us that we weren't from Africa and cut out our tongues. And so, of course, they'll have you believe in pedophilia is natural. Yeah. I mean, these are these folks, and then we got to remember that. I can't be mad at them on that degree. I mean, I'm not celebrating because that ain't my shit.
Well, but it's strategic in a way to where how they leveled up, just like they got the gay marriage. They leveled up. And that's why with this whole situation with the Jesse hoax won't be a gay black man no more. Jesse Hoax will be a black man. No, let's be very clear about that.
Hey,
Jesse will now be a black man. That gay term is no longer going to be adjusted to his name. He will now be a black man.
That's a benefit he got taken away.
Yeah, he got the benefit of that being taken away.
But I agree with you. I'm just saying, I feel like even with that group, is that anytime you push anything black, it's like everybody like, no, you don't get to be black. This is America. You can't be yourself. Yeah. Only people get that message is black people.
Man. And the funny thing, I read something. A young bull had just said this. It was powerful. He said that I get told like white history every day, but my black history is an elective. I said, God damn. He said it prefacing in that way. I'm like, damn, an elective. Like an elective to where you really don't have to, but if you want to. It's a choice. Where there is no choice to hear white history. And the way it's being served to us, it empowers white kids. And that is a whole other subject for another day.
No, you're right. You're right.
But going into that, and I think his preferences as to us, are black people just okay with being at the table? Are we just okay with this mayor situation? You know, he's going to go grab a few black Negroes, those who didn't put the pressure on the mayor, because that's what's going to happen.
People who walk through the door are usually never the people who fought to kick the door open.
Exactly.
Let's just be honest.
Being very honest and very chill about that. And thank you, people, for sharing this conversation. Yeah. This is conversation that needs to be shared. Because are we just okay with just being at the table? Are we just okay?
Why we can't make our own goddamn table? Why we always want to be at somebody else's table?
That's what I'm asking
I get
you.
what you're saying.
Are we just okay
I think silly Negroes are okay with being at the table.
Because when you say that, it's just going to take it to a whole other atmosphere.
But I'm going to say Barry Point, though. I
know that. The folks don't know what it is. But when my sister says it, they're going to be all shucks.
But they're okay with being at the table. Like, for instance, Barry, me and you ain't been at the table. We had to create our own table.
Yes.
That's very different to create your own table
and now that
with lack of resources.
And now that we've created our own table, the adjustment for them to want us to be at these tables, it's like, we need these folks because of that edge, because of that perspective that they give that other folks won't give. So it's like we created our own table, but we're allowed to come to their table if need be, because they need us more than we need them, so to say.
I agree. I also think that some people are just really tired of carrying Negroes. I didn't say black folks. I said Negroes. I think sometimes when it's like watching the nemesis or whatever. You want to have like a nemesis you can at least, because white people like a good fight. I mean, that's why they go all over the world picking fights with people and shit.
UFC.
No, really, they really do. But I think sometimes it is not fun beating up on somebody who won't fight you back. Like, you just kind of be like, man, I don't even want to, So I think quietly, this is just me. I think quietly they're hoping that these silly Negroes get drugged down the street, because they like a opponent that can at least give them some pull or some pushback, or not sitting there agreeing with them all the time or trying to make political. Yeah, this is my city, man. This ain't none of your city. You don't even own shit up in here. You know, you don't own. We have people who came way after us, and they own whole blocks and corner stores. And I remember this over here used to be Jumbo's, and this was all black area for the councilman. And then how did the Latinos get the supermarket? Why a black man couldn't get that supermarket? Listen.
What you said something is so powerful, so critical.
Man, because you think about it, you be like, man, this is
sick.
This
because
shit is ridiculous.
What you just said is these Negroes is claiming blocks in neighborhoods that they'll be gentrified and they'll be moved out or be arrested whenever a snap of the finger. Just like Thanos, a snap of a finger, they'll be gone. And they'll be arguing with us, like when Negroes want to monopolize these communities, right? Oh, well, this is my neighborhood. Nigga, what do you own here? What do you own here? What, you don't even own the property that you live in.
That you've been renting, what Jay-Z said, that you've been renting for a hell of years.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, you have lineage, you have, family that's been in, but you have no status that can change the dynamics of this community, but just the fact that you've lived in the community, but you don't have any real status in the community. Right. And that becomes a thing when we really focus at, okay, are the Negroes just okay with at the table, or do we want to create our own table? And my thing is create our own table.
I know that.
But I will take from their table because they took it from ours. And I don't think Negroes understand that, because no matter how we want to talk about the black dollar still looks like a slave dollar bill. So while Negroes, I'm just being honest, right?
Whoa.
While Negroes are celebrating President's Day, Negroes are celebrating President's Day. Mind you, President's Day is still a slave man's holiday, because of most of the presidents you want to celebrate were slave owners. So let's be very clear on the content of what we're celebrating, right? Be happy that you got a day off. You are deserving of it. But I'm not celebrating presidents, and they're not going to go, oh, I'm celebrating Obama. Negroes miss me with that. Yeah. You're celebrating slave owners. So regardless of how we want to try to transform our idea of what our table looks like, we're still going to have to get things from their table because we don't have. I mean, it's true.
No, that's
because
true.
we don't have forks. We don't have knives. We don't got plates.
We don't know how to eat with our hands.
I'm just saying and when we eat with our hands, look at the Queen Sheba. We look at that. That's like, oh my God, that's disgusting. How could you eat with your hands? We forget our own self.
That's real talk.
Let's go to some of these questions.
Okay. Hey, one last thing though, Barry, we say about that. You saw on the money. I would just say, black folks, if it's really that important to you, Be black all the time. Celebrate your culture all the time, and your food, what you listen to, what you watch on TV. Create your own. And I think sometimes we can't hold a candle to our ancestors because they create their own in the midst of suppression for real.
Talk to them.
Not no suppression like they up here bugging my computer and I ain't doing shit really. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about really not being able to talk, cut your tongue out, the whole nine. We have more freedom than that. Yeah. So don't ask the white person to give you your culture. Get the shit to yourself. Yeah. Get them questions, Barry. I'm sorry. I had to say that in there because that's right on.
You see one of these questions, right?
There was a lot of it.
Okay, Juanita Butler, she's talking about you can get thousands in student loans, but constantly denied for bank loans and business loans.
Right on.
And she's right about that.
That's so true.
And that becomes an idea to like, here's what frustrated me when I was looking at, because I just left the Obama Foundation, a powerful piece that was happening. I'll give the credit on that for the My Brother's Keeper. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to be too critical of it, but I'm going to just, of course, have to give a little bit of my critique.
Okay.
We was at the Scottish Temple in Oakland, right over there in the lake, right?
I'm familiar with that.
And I'm seeing all this black power, and the sense of black power.
It's black power of just black people with a little bit of power.
Yeah. It's when I say black power, it's not meaning in the sense of the power that we know we can uplift and change.
Bam. Okay.
But it is black power. Right?
I get that. Okay? Yes, sir.
But when I was sitting there, and Butler was saying something real, because here we are being denied of loans for businesses and mortgages, but they're gonna give us a loan for going to their colleges, right? I'm thinking in my head like, damn. How about some of these powerful Negroes in here? Why can't they be the bank that we get the loan from, right? And then even on top of that, why is all this black power in this room that's not owned by us? The Scottish Temple, right? That's nothing black, right? I mean, just
no, you're right.
Okay, it's nothing black. It's not black owned. Far from it. But we're having this powerful movement in this facility, and it led me to think in my mind, like, the powers that be still don't think in ideas of creating convention centers that's black owned, so we can hold our own court, our own black space, right? We have all this black power, but don't utilize the power to create our own space. So when folks are flying into this thing, it's like, oh, black owned, black ran. It's sort of kind of like the building that we're in right now.
It's kind of like how white people do it every day. Every time they turn over the dollar so much in the white community, you can't even count it. But I get what you're saying.
And they can't even count it, and they can't even count what other monies is coming in. So in the perspective of me looking at it, I'm like, golly, I wish we could go do more when we are trying to create this ownership and this value of independent, but really being independent to where when we walk into spaces and we're talking about things, we don't have to feel like the enemy is looking, because we're not in our own space. And our own space to me is power. So I hear all these great things, that this and that, but I'm still like, damn, we're still here on enemy lines. It's not our own property. It's not our own building. This is not our own thing. But we have all these powerful players. And I don't think they look at it that much to that level, because I think a lot of folks are like, well, we need to have everybody to be a part of the shift. And I think in some places we do, in some places we don't. I just believe that for me, and this is not about being prejudiced, I always feel a higher value, and I just break it down in just simple terms. If you and I were married, you would have your own car and I would have my own car.
Right on.
It's not in the purpose of like, oh, I think something's going to go bad, but just in case it does go bad, you are still having your own power and I'm having my power to be able to say, here's my keys, compared to being like, well, we
ain't got no law.
Exactly. And then you switch it up like, well, my name is on the loan, Negro, so give me my key back. And that's what in a court of law what it would be. So I don't see it's wrong for us having our own establishments and our own places to be able to have these black spaces unapologetically.
I think the sad part, I agree with you 100%. I think the sad part is that we're the only group that have to even consider that shit. That's straight slavery, Barry. When you have to consider your oppressor how he feels. Or you have to make sure it's comfortable for the other so-called people of color.
Wow.
But none of those other groups, you go to a Spanish meeting, they don't say, we have some African Americans, can we get a translator so they can understand? They don't stop and do that for us.
Not at all.
They don't even have to consider it.
They take our culture, though.
Well, hell, we let them have it.
Yeah.
We'll make room for them at the table, but they won't make room for us at the table.
Right.
And we'll even shit on, like the city council did, remember, by talking about how many Latinos are here, but saying nothing about black people. That's called shitting on people, Mr. Councilman. So, because I felt offended when he said, I said, so what's the purpose of this? When you know that a black man got shot down in your district.
Yeah.
And you want to tell me that there's no crime? So I feel like that, to me, we got to look at the mind of a slave, not an enslaved person. Because when you're enslaved, you usually fight. You're in this against your will. So you're a warrior. You fight. But a slave just takes his position.
Wow.
Doesn't complain. And do what the hell they're supposed to do. So we have like the silly Negroes. They're really slaves.
Yes.
And they're okay with their position.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, because the only people who have to do disclaimers, I really hate disclaimers. I want to be like white folks in the sense that I don't have to give a goddamn disclaimer. White people say stuff, they don't give disclaimers.
No. They might explain if someone's saying, why did you say that?
And they'll be like, well, but they'll still make it, when we hear the American people, they ain't talking about black people. We know that.
I don't think Negroes do.
You know?
They claim it all.
You know, now they talking about the furniture or the floor, they talk about your ass. Don't get me started, Barry. I ain't going to be messing with you. I ain't gonna be messing with you, Barry. No, I ain't gonna do it.
Well, you know, we at the end of the show. You know, we take y'all for tuning in. This lady is crazy. She talking about
you crazy too, Barry. I can't be hanging with you.
This is beautiful. All right, we're gonna get back to our regular scheduled time on Tuesday,
right on
8:30. You know, we had some things going on out of town, but please, y'all, tap in. Keep on sending your questions. You know, we gotta. You know, let me see. Let's take one more question before.
All right, go ahead. Go get there. We got it. They don't start dancing at 10:30.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Queen is saying, Briggs is saying, the truth is black dollars stay in our communities for 6 hours. Shoot, I don't even think it's 6 hours, Queen.
Damn.
That's a lot of time.
But the African market is staying at least all day.
Yeah, exactly. So to speak. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's
sad,
something.
Though.
That's what our reality is. When I went into this place of Oakland and I saw all this black power in this building, in this room, I asked myself the first thing, not when Obama's coming, but why don't we have our own black convention centers, our own black areas to uplift us, to build us, to kind of be able to really like hone in, not all these other items that I'm not looking at all this, because I think scenery is a very important thing to the psyche of just our young kids that we're empowering. So the scenery is a bunch of Asian guys on the wall and white guys on the wall, and that's like, that's not showing us. The environment. So
the bigger question is, I'm going to ask you, Barry, why are these so-called Negroes who have so-called power, I'm saying so-called, why are they comfortable with us even being like this?
Well, because I think that's what goes back to the piece of being okay with being at the table. Because as long as I look like a Negro who's successful, right, as long as it's propped up that I'm successful in American society and white acceptance, that I'm doing something to forward my community in a way, whether it's being marginal or whether it's being, you know, in tiny steps, that at least I'm doing my part, not being as radical as and in imagination to be like, yo, we're gonna do this bigger and better than we ever thought. What I would have loved to hear is, you know, a plan of, we are right now in the midst of collectively getting some NBA stars, some actors and entertainers. Because remember, that's all that it was. It was entertainers, it was politicians, it was mentors from Detroit to Chicago to Tennessee to Houston, from California, all congregated in this one place. But there wasn't a leveled up plan like, we're going to create these facilities to not only be able to have these mentorship groups come in and to be able to hold court, but to also be able to have a place where we break bread. And saying that and saying we're going to break bread in Detroit, we're going to do this in Alabama and set it up. There is monies that's going to be accepted from different areas that's going to have the MBK Obama Foundation's help to do some things. But when I look at real sustainable things, we have to have buildings in place, property in place for us to do our own service providing. And if we don't start thinking to that level where we always have to go call up you know, the city center or some other a community facility that's not owned by us, not directed by us, not established by us, it takes that power away from where we really want to lift and really want to build. And I think Negroes move away and not really see that as being an issue. I think that Negroes are okay with renting and not okay with owning.
Do you think part of their job is to deliver us to the slaughter?
A lot of us is. I mean, be honest with you, a lot of it is. I think that as long as I don't get slaughtered, or you know, it's just kind of like Negroes are so removed with independence that they just believe that let's get along to get along and it's going to be okay. Where my thing is, I want to love everybody, but I also want to have my own so I can be able to love fully. I can't love everybody if I'm constantly looking at that next person eating more than me and I'm still hungry. I'm not full.
Say that again. I love
saying.
the way you said
you know what
that.
I mean? Because I think that's what it is. It becomes a thing like we're okay with getting the appetizers while everybody else is getting dinner. And then the cold part about it, after they get dinner, they get a dessert. And I don't even have the idea what that tastes like because I haven't even had the dinner yet. I'm still working on the appetizer. So if we want to continue to be in these steps and these ideas of processing is being able to have stuff that kind of is committed, just like I said before, last time we spoke. The reason why boycotts don't work is because what corporation do Negroes have that's a part of the investment or part of the sponsorship and these global iconic baseball, basketball, football entities? We don't have anything. The closest thing we have is a Jordan brand that's still connected to white money, and that's the Nike. What do we have? You know what I'm saying? Negroes aren't self-sufficient enough to be bold like Alonzo Ball's father and say, let me make my own shoe. You know, LeBron hasn't done that. LeBron still has a Nike contract. And I get it and I understand it. But the way that we level up is when we have stuff that we continuously put at the table that becomes our bargaining chip.
I get that.
Like right now, the mayor had to say what he had to say in the city address because we had bargaining chips, right? It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. So this is what you have to do. And if you don't do it, we're going to really do this.
Right on.
We cornered him. And if Negroes don't start doing that, instead of saying, well, hey, mayor, you can go this way. No, this Negro is trapped and cornered. You ain't got to tell him the backdoor escape route. We got to sit there and hold ourselves accountable and be okay with making other people uncomfortable and moving ourselves forward.
Peace, Brother Jamil. Last question for you. So I like when you get more perspective. Do you think it's possible for black men just to sit down with each other?
Ego, the expectation of our people to be the brave-hearted leader, and the fact that white folks won't allow a bunch of black men to all move simultaneously together and come in.
I'm just talking about one damn man.
No. I'm just saying that's what I mean. It breaks it down. Because black men's perspective, right? That they're not going to accept all of us. Now, if black men stood and said, like, for instance, when I used to be back in my day, someone that had beef with my partner had beef with me. Like, you know, there was no question. Your enemy is my enemy, right? That's what it was. Now it's like, well, I'm still cool with him. Negro, if you cool with him, you can't be cool with me. And I think that's that attitude of Negroes can sit together and have a lot of a conversation, but the problem is, can Negroes work towards what the conversation is about collectively? Without ego, without me, without fuck you, without I can't stand a Negro, without sitting there trying to make a side deal. Can we do that?
Barry, it make me go like this. You know, I get that from my great nephew when he said, he'd be like, I'm sad. So let me ask you this. Because in order for us to get free, we don't need everybody. I think what people understand. That's why I like watching the Gladiator movie. Because that's what the 300 is about. Like 300 gets 10, 15 million people. It's like, how does that happen?
Like Negroes like Jesse, it's okay for him to go. We don't need to salvage him. Like people like Bill Cosby, it's okay for him to go. People like R. Kelly, it's okay for them Negroes to go. So they were here. We're not supposed to save these Negroes. Like, why?
And just me.
And let me just get this is very, very clear. We know that white supremacy had a lot to do with their demise. But because you know you're behind enemy lines, you don't walk into the booby trap of white supremacy. Like, you don't think I know. Here's one of the biggest things that I know that they would love for me to do, because I work with so many young women. They would love to have me in a scandal like that. Barry's been dating 14-year-olds. You get what I'm talking about?
Hey,
I know that in my
What
head.
do you do to keep yourself out of that?
Sure
That's a chess piece.
First of all, I make sure my daughter is around. I make sure I created my own young women's group that my young women leaders kind of work on. I make sure that there's proximity at all times with my young girls, and folks know how I level. You know what I'm saying? You can never sit there and put me in a position like that. I'm not out here late with these young girls. Like I'm with my young bulls. But they're not with me. Why are you still with Mr. Axius at 1 a.m.? Who are you with? Oh, it's just me and him. We're just doing some work in the office. I'm not. It would be. Oh, it's all 10 of us, boys and girls. You know what I'm saying?
I love you, Barry.
I'm just saying, but
that's real talk.
But you know, but then I watch my niggas walk into the booby trap.
Yep.
Like I watch and I'm like, come on, bruh.
Like why are you here?
Nigga, you don't see this shit coming? So I know you have to be able to assess the traps before the traps can be set up. So as they lay the traps, dumbass, silly Negroes walk into the traps and get bit every time. They see the cheese and they think that their fingers is not gonna get caught up in that trap. That's real.
Barry, because I think sometimes with brothers, it's like they don't even understand that part.
They don't. It's like it's almost like we are behind enemy lines. I hate to say that over and over again. But when I know I can't do shit that white people do. I know that I can't grope a woman and think that, oh yeah, I just groped the sister and ain't nothing gonna happen. I might be able to do that with a sister and get away with it, but I'm for sure not gonna try to do that with a white woman. So that silly ass Negro,
you be swinging.
Oh yeah, with that silly ass Negro AJ who got caught up, who used to be on 106 in Park.
What with him?
That nigga got like about 5 or 10 different sexual allegations of assault and all type of. He done called for that white money. Swear to God. Now here's a thing, in particular that I really want to know because we don't know who the victims are. I want to see if the victims are white or the victims are black. Because I guarantee you, if the victims are white, that nigga was doing that same shit to black women on BET and nobody probably said nothing about it. But as soon as he started coming to those white waters, started getting too comfortable. See, that's the thing about it. Negroes are comfortable with white supremacy, and that's going to be a whole other conversation that we talk about. Negroes is comfortable with white supremacy. So when you're comfortable with something, you're going to start not moving the way you're supposed to move. You got to move in a way to where white supremacy always makes you uncomfortable. So it's not me like not being free, but it's also me being aware and understanding where I'm at. I am not at the party because they want me here. I'm at the party for a reason.
That's real talk. You know what, Barry? I tell you one thing. With that question, can black men sit down together? That was a big one.
Oh, yes, because we have ego. I mean, if the Negro can get rid of the ego.
Why somebody make y'all think that one of y'all got to be the leader? Black folks, get out of the Messiah thought, please. Ain't nobody in here directly connected to
because they give us crumbs. They give us crumbs. And then at the same time, I'm gonna be very totally honest with you. The Negro who's that leader, that power that we get, that idea of power, the idea of power that we have. You know what it does? It creates that energy from black sisters. Yeah, I'm the man, and we get called upon. But if the black man stood together and took care of business together, the black sisters would be protected, the black children would be protected, and we would have a whole different extreme. But I know we can't sit together because Negroes lack the discernment as well as Negroes cannot let go. Like the OGs, they can't let go. The OGs kind of stay young. The young G's don't want to listen to the OGs because the OGs is like, the young G's are like, y'all niggas ain't did shit for me, but give me your ass a kiss. And so that's where we're at right now in society.
But damn, we got to get, Barry, look, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I just feel like at some point, we got to get past it. Because you know what? Your enemy, they all together. I mean, they may not like each other, but damn it, they've been in power for over 400 years, at least clearly in the U.S., and that ain't because they said, kiss my ass, George Washington. George Washington got a goddamn statue.
That's it.
George Washington on the dollar bill.
Yeah.
We got, at some point, and that's not all. Like, there are some old people, so I think there's old people and then there's elders. Old people usually did shit. Now, there are some old people who didn't contribute nothing, but breathe up some air. Then there are elders who put in work, but we got to know how to sit them down in a nice way so they don't feel like they have to still be in the fight. Like, hey, I done trained 10,000 warriors. I'm sitting my ass down.
And I think that the one thing about it, it's absolute power. We have the idea of power, black people. We have the idea of power. So even those folks that got power, it's an idea. White folks have absolute power. So with that being said, absolute power is going to be the sacrifice to know Donald Trump is full of shit, But that dude is in the power position. I'm going to stand by him, and I ain't going to care what goes on, because that's called absolute power. Absolute power is continuing to maintain our white supremacist ways, our status quo, and to move and to deliver the way they deliver.
Do you think we're supposed to be meeting with white supremacists like Donald Trump? Or any others, Hillary Clinton, all of them, to me, the white supremacists, but that's just my
I think there's always strategy in everything, but you don't ever go into there with an attitude of sellout. You never go into there with the attitude of, well, whatever you say, master. You go into it with an agenda, just like they do with our community.
Righto.
You go with an agenda, with an idea, it's purposely driven, and the community knows why you're going there. You just don't go in there. Why? Because we don't know. Like, so when the fake ass silly Negroes who the preachers and priests that went in there, pastors went in there, they went in there for their own individualism. They didn't tell us what the plan was. Tell us the plan, what's going on. Then we can kind of utilize that for our own strategy. And so when people know, if I meet with the mayor, if I meet for the city council, y'all already know what it's about. Y'all already know how I get down and I get busy, because I've been doing this stuff without them.
Real talk.
So that's what it is.
Look, bruh, thank you so much, y'all. We'll be back next week. Next week,
gonna be back. Keep on pushing up the questions. Keep on the conversation going. Just being honest, connecting with the Black experience. We'll be back next Tuesday, 8:30. Chime in, tell a friend, share. Peace, family.